Motherfucker. Fucking yell at me like that. Jesus Christ. I am going to get you when you least expect it, Daryl. Just so you know.
I believe you.
So welcome to WTF Stories and Advice. I'm Caroline Cranshaw, and I'm still trying to get my heart rate back under control after Daryl Gove, my lovely co-host, just scared the motherfucking shit out of me. Say hi, Daryl.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, my heart still works.
Just look at your Fitbit and see how long it takes your heart rate to come back down.
I'm not wearing it.
This is what we do, my partner, when he scares me. We both look at my heart rate together on the Fitbit. Oh, we got it to 130 that time.
Oh, that's so nice of him. Not. See, tell him to try that one on me and see how hard he gets punched.
I just pass it on, you see. I pay it forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, you see these like videos on TikTok. I have like literally become a TikTok addict. It's bad. I need to delete it off my phone. My name is Caroline and I am a TikTok addict. But there's these funny videos where these guys like scare their partners like with masks and shit, and they beat the crap out of them. One woman kicked a guy down the stairs, just punching him in the balls. Like, yeah, and it's like, fuck around and find out. So today we are probably going to have a shorter podcast. I found an interesting little story in the local paper that I thought would be fun to discuss. Ooh. And then we're going to give you guys some recommendations of shit to watch.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I read the story the other night and I could not quite believe my eyes.
Yes, I'm intrigued. I haven't read it. Whatever it is, because I don't read a newspaper anymore.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Okay. Wanganui driver crashes car after passenger performed
Ooh.
Okay.
Start again.
Try that again. Wanganui driver crashes car after passenger performed oral. Bleh.
Oh, what you're doing is you're making an image of the words oral sex, and you're acting it out. Blah, blah, blah. You just say the name Caroline Good.
I want to say oral sex. Oral sex. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try that again.
Do you go up to your partner and go, hey, can I have some blah, blah, blah?
Okay. I could do this. Wanganui driver crashes car after passenger performs sex act on him. There, I did it. I really wanted to say the word because now it's in my head.
I'm sorry I have to find that funny. I just imagined her sticking her finger up his bum.
Well, we're not. Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? I don't think they actually give the exact act. So, okay. Layla Jane Joseph may not have been driving a car that crashed, but performing a sex act on the driver landed her in court. The 34-year-old appeared in Wanganui District Court on Wednesday for sentencing before Judge Andrew Nichols on charges of dangerous driving and perverting the course of justice. This is the New Zealand Herald. This was written by Leighton Keith, who is a justice multimedia journalist. It's a great article. So she gets charges. Yeah.
Dangerous driving, and she wasn't driving?
Yeah.
What?
And perverting the course of justice. Okay. So in a twist, Josephs was charged with dangerous driving despite the fact that she was not driving the vehicle. However, the fact that the car crashed after she began performing a sex act on the driver landed her the charge. Josephs has previously admitted both charges. Two others, driving while disqualified and drink driving, were withdrawn. So... it sounds like she may have her license disqualified. But they charged her with dangerous driving, perverting the course of justice, driving while disqualified, and drink driving. Though she had 4 charges, but driving while disqualified and drink driving or driving under the influence were withdrawn, even though she wasn't doing either of those things. This is New Zealand, people.
I'm confused. So she must have been like holding the wheel or doing the pedals or something like that in order to facilitate some kind of sex act.
Okay, here we go. The charges were laid after a car crash on Kangaroa Road, Fordell. I don't even know where that is. It must be somewhere in Wanganui. Just before midnight on June 27th, 2021. So it's actually taken a while to get to court. When Josephs was the front seat passenger in a car driven by Andre Teka, the summary of facts states, she began to perform oral sex on Teka, which caused him to lose control of the vehicle and crash through a farm fence. She must be pretty good.
Yeah, or bad.
Or maybe she...
Stop.
Bit chompy. Maybe she did the finger poke and he wasn't up for a prostate exam at that moment in time.
Was he drunk? Oh, we don't know yet, I suppose.
Oh, but well, here we'll go on to tell the story. After Teka fled the scene, residents contacted the police about an intoxicated woman who had arrived at their home asking for help in an abusive manner. When police arrived, Joseph, who appeared extremely intoxicated, was on the main road and was the suspected driver. Okay, so they thought she was driving the car.
Okay.
Joseph was arrested and underwent an evidential breath test, which showed she had 786 micrograms of alcohol per liter of breath. The legal limit to drive is 250 micrograms. You know what's funny is the other day I was driving to work. It was about 10:15 in the morning.
You fancied a blowjob?
No, Daryl. I don't have a dick. Do I have to keep needing to remind you? And there was a, what do you call it when they do a stop?
A breath test.
Yeah. There was on my street, like a suburban street in Auckland, they had set up a checkpoint and were breath testing everybody.
On what day of the week? Tuesday?
Friday morning. I could see like a Saturday morning, but a Friday.
Yeah, or Sunday morning.
And there's all these cops and cars are stopped. And I drive up and I'm like, hey, wow, it's a bit early, isn't it? And he's like, no, we've already caught 2 and we've only been here for 15 minutes.
Wow.
They had already caught 2 drink drivers at 10:15 in the morning on a Friday morning.
Okay, they must have known about some kind of party or some kind of event in that area.
I don't know.
I don't know.
My partner is an ex-cop, right? And he said, well, Thursday is a day a lot of people get paid. So they tend to go out and drink and they're still drunk the next morning, which I'm like, you've got to drink a fucking lot to still be drunk at 10:15 the next morning. But anyways, I think it might be people who are starting early. I don't know. So he was like, oh, we used to catch people in the morning all the time. And he said, and Friday morning's a good one because they've had payday.
You know, I remember when I was like in my early 20s, Thursday night that's right. It was Thursday night at the Crow's Nest, the little bar in Whangaparoa, where we used to go drinking. And it was always the busiest night of the week. Always. It was full. It was pumping on a Thursday. And I think it's partly because if you drink a lot on Thursday and you're hungover Friday, you've only got one day of work before the weekend. So you just have to suffer through that one day. Whereas if you get hungover on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, then you've got, I can't get through the week to the weekend when I can rest. So we used to always, Thursday night at the Crow's Nest. And it was such a good time. The whole time went there.
I used to go to the Silver Peso on Thursday nights. Now that I think about it. Is it Fairfax? I can't even remember now. So it's Marin County. Shout out if you know the Silver Peso. And it's the same thing. People would drink. I don't think people got paid on a Thursday night there, but I think it's a similar thing of like just one more day. So might as well start the weekend early.
Because they might not know here in New Zealand, we're often paid weekly and fortnightly. So it's not usually monthly. It's for most people, it's weekly or fortnightly. So it's the same day each time.
Yeah. I think it used to be weekly, actually. Weekly or fortnightly. It definitely isn't monthly in the States. I guess it all
Oh,
depends.
it's not?
No.
Oh.
I was like horrified when I found out some people were paid monthly. I'm like, how do you live? I mean, I've always been someone
Well,
who's paid every day, right? You know? I work for
in
myself.
Scotland, I remember when I grew up, my dad was paid monthly. And so what we'd do is we'd drive far away to this like big, massive supermarket that was super, I don't know, amazing. It was a fun time. And we just fill to overbrimming 2 or 3 giant trolleys of food for the month, because that's the first thing you had to get just to keep you going. Because everybody would always run out halfway through the month. But we've digressed to paydays and supermarket shopping. So let's go back to where were we?
Let's go to the story. Yes. Sorry. Okay. So she was arrested, underwent evidential breath test, showed she had 786 micrograms of alcohol per liter of breath. The legal limit is to drive is 250 micrograms. However, Joseph denied she was driving the car and gave the police a false name. On July 20th, 2021, Joseph appears in court and pleads not guilty to the charges. Days later, her lawyer contacted police to confirm. Joseph continued to deny being the driver and provided another name of who was behind the wheel. Okay, so I can see why then she got driving while disqualified and drink driving as well. Oh, but here we go. The details again proved to be false.
Okay.
So she then like accused somebody else, maybe some enemy. I don't know.
It was Sandra. She did it.
Yeah.
I was driving with Sandra, that bitch.
The other person must have had an alibi or something. But on October 8th, her lawyer again contacted the police and this time provided Tekka's name as the offender. Tekka later admitted he was driving the vehicle when it crashed. Surely they could do like, I don't know, DNA testing or something, but maybe they just said, it's obvious this woman is here. She is wasted. And it's, yeah. I wonder whose car it was. Maybe it was her car. So you could see why they would. So anyways, Tekka later admitted he was driving the vehicle when it crashed. Defense lawyer Blair Piper sought a sentence of intense supervision, reparation for the offense, and disqualification from driving, which was punitive as Joseph's was not driving. Crown prosecutor. Sorry. I should definitely read the news. I'd be great.
If this was your addition, then yeah.
But I can give good head. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
You can relate to the story.
I can relate to this story. I'm just thinking. Stop it. There could be many times I could have been in this situation. That's all I have to say.
No comment.
No comment after that. Crown prosecutor Jack Liu said while Joseph's previous convictions were not extensive, it was concerning that she did not cooperate with police. Judge Nichols acknowledged Joseph was not the driver, but said her actions played a part. You contributed to him losing control of the car and crashing through a farm fence. But the guy, I'm sorry, he couldn't like keep control unless she was like biting it or something. And then he ran off and left her there.
He must have been really drunk.
Obviously.
And to be fair, if he was really drunk, then any distraction could have caused that. And yes, she probably shouldn't have done that, but he's a man who has sovereignty over his own body and can say no.
Yeah.
And like, what, did she force oral sex on him and make him crash? Or did he go, well, yes, please, thank you very much. That'd be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, most guys don't say no if you offer.
That's what I'm thinking. But I'm driving.
I can't think of a man who's ever turned down oral sex. That just doesn't happen. Okay, the judge says to her, you contributed to him losing control of the car and crashing through a farm fence. He said the lead charge was perverting the course of justice, which carried a maximum penalty of 7 years imprisonment. Judge Nichols decided an appropriate sentencing starting point was 6 months imprisonment, but gave Joseph a 25% discount for her guilty pleas, reducing it to 3.5 months in jail. He then converted it to a community-based sentence of 40 hours community work and 12 months intensive supervision. Joseph was disqualified from driving for 6 months fined $750 and ordered to pay $162.50 reparation for the fence on the charge of dangerous driving, which was the same as Tekka received.
Okay, hold on. So she gets a prison sentence reduced for not telling on him when he ran away.
Basically, that's really what it is when it comes down to it. Which she should have. Because otherwise it's her, right? If she wasn't driving, she should have given that name, because otherwise it's her that has that charge and she didn't do it.
Yeah, she maybe thought since she wasn't driving that, well, they won't know who it was, but it wasn't me. But yeah, that's not going to hold up.
No.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's fair. Like, you don't want to pervert the course of justice. You don't want to be lying to police and stuff like that. I think it's a bit weird that she got like a stronger sentence than he did, since he was the one obviously driving, getting a blowjob and crashing.
Yeah. So they both got the charge of dangerous driving. I mean, shouldn't he get charged for leaving the scene of a crime and perverting the course of justice? Or, and also
Right.
putting her in that position. Like I said, I don't think she forced him to have a blowjob.
And she wasn't driving. So I just think it's ridiculous and stupid to give her a charge of dangerous driving.
Yeah. Couldn't there be some type of like dangerous activity? I don't know. Is there
dangerous blowjobs?
I know. Sucking dick while driving. New charge. I think they need to make that a charge, maybe. Because it is a dangerous activity, really, if you do that while someone's driving.
But do you charge the person doing it or the person receiving, or both?
Yeah, that's a good, maybe both, I would say.
Because here's the thing, right? I think something's illegal or it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can just go around thinking, oh, well, that's dangerous. I'm going to cover it under this other law that means you can't drive dangerously. Well, that's not how it works. Like, if there's no law saying you can't suck dick of somebody while they're driving, then she shouldn't be punished for that at all. And if there's a loophole and you realize that, oh, actually, we need to make sure people don't do this, then yes, make a law for that. But you can't just go, oh, well, we'll charge her under the indecent exposure law, because even though she wasn't exposed. Like, you have to have a law for the crime. You can't just pick a random law to charge her with because you don't like what she was doing and because it was dangerous. But that really doesn't surprise me in New Zealand, because of how they have more recently become quite liberal with their interpretation of the law.
Oh, and then to put that in perspective, there was a guy just charged or had a court case where he raped 5 15-year-old girls. 5. And he got 12 months home detention.
What?
Did you not hear about that case?
No, I don't read the news.
Oh, yeah.
It's too depressing.
He was 17 at the time of the offending, but he still raped 5 15-year-old girls. I think he raped 4 and sexually assaulted. Maybe he didn't penetrate the 5th, but like, hello.
Can I check? Because statutory rape, as in like they consented, but because they were under.
No. Like actual rape. Not.
And 12 months home detention. So basically, like what we all got for not being vaccinated.
Yes. That's a very good point. Obviously, we weren't put under home detention, but we were the only place we were allowed to go was the grocery store and the pharmacy, and that was it.
Yeah.
When we both have severe vaccine allergies. That was something we bonded over when we first met. Anyways.
Yeah, and explored in hypnosis as well.
Yeah.
But that's ridiculous. 12 months. That's like just a year of school. Do they not have like juvie here, like juvenile like hall where they put?
I don't think they do. This is the problem, because like New Zealand is having huge issues with crime at the moment. We are having what they call ram raids every single night, constant like attacks on jewelry stores. Like it's just happening. I think it's gone up like 600%. These crimes, they're stealing cars, and it's all underaged.
It's all teenagers because they know they won't be caught.
They're not charged.
They changed this law in New Zealand where police aren't allowed to chase a car that's speeding now. They can't keep pursuing it if it gets too fast because it's dangerous and they might crash.
Yeah.
And so
they still do a little bit though. But
they do a little bit, but there's like a degree where they might stop chasing them. And so the kids know if we drive off fast enough, they're not going to chase us.
Yeah.
And they're not going to look for us, and they don't have the resources to find us. And we're going to get away with this. And so it's happening more and more and more.
Well, they do get caught all the time, but they just literally release them. Like, I've got a lot of police officers as clients at the moment, and they're just like, they've picked up some of these kids 100 times.
Really? And they just
100 times. I'm not kidding you. And they just get re-released. They need like a juvie here. I think what they do, they did have like a youth's prison, which was 18 to 21. But under that, unless they're like murdering and stabbing a bunch of people, but I can't even really think of any cases like that. They never try anyone as adults here, which I personally do agree with that. Like, I don't think you should be tried as an adult if you're not an adult. That's, to me, is unfair. But there should be consequences. And the thing is, it's gangs that are behind it. And the gangs are like teaching these kids how to commit these crimes and knowing that these kids aren't going to get charged. So they found this loophole. And these businesses are getting hit like 4 or 5 times. Like this liquor store down the road was hit 8 times.
Shit.
8 times. There's a restaurant just right down a few blocks from where I live. And they got hit like 3 times. And the poor owner of the restaurant's cleaning up the mess, like really upset and distraught, has a massive heart attack and is dead for 20 minutes. Did I not tell you about this?
What? No. Which bloody restaurant is this?
Meadow down in St. Heliers.
No.
Yeah. Dead for 20 minutes. They resuscitate him. He goes to ICU and he's back at work in like 2 weeks. So I was amazed that this guy actually, number 1, survived, and number 2, isn't like permanently brain damaged. He is like apparently fine. But the stress of this and the businesses is just, it has literally gotten out of control. I'm here, crime is just going crazy everywhere. But apparently, because what can stop these ram raids is you put these like balustrades in, or what else do they call them? You know, these like beams. Bollards, that's right. They put these bollards that are these, you know, beams to keep them, that they can't crash the cars into the businesses to get in. And the councils here, like the city council, just makes it impossible for it to happen. It'll take like 6 months, and they're like, oh no, it'll be hard for us to repair the sidewalk if you guys put those things in. And they're not even asking them to pay for it. They're just asking for permission for them to do it, so their businesses can't be attacked all the time. But there are other things, they're running into jewelry stores and just taking hammers and smashing the glass and grabbing it.
I saw a video of kids in Albany Mall or something doing that, and they just went to the jewelry shop and they just smashed it and took it all, and people were filming it on their cell phones.
Yeah.
It was crazy. The bollards do work as far as for cars. And then in Glasgow, in Scotland, they've got them outside the airport. And it was about 13 years ago or 14 years ago, there was a terrorist attack. And a guy came with a car loaded with explosives to drive it into the airport.
Oh, wow.
And it hit the bollard on the outside, so it stopped it getting into the airport.
Nice.
And the car went on fire. And in true Scottish style, a Scottish guy went up to the car, pulled the terrorist, out of the burning truck, pulled him out, and the guy was on fire, and he started punching him and beating him up while he was on fire.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's saving him, and I'm like, that doesn't sound very Scottish to me. Oh no, he just wanted to kick his ass. Nice. Good on him.
You could watch it if you Google it. There's an interview that you'll find on YouTube with the guys getting interviewed about what he did. It's so funny.
Oh, it is. It's great. Like over here, life in prison is 13 years. If you've like done something really bad, it's 17. I mean, obviously there's people who just never get out of prison, right? They just keep getting refused parole. Like the guy who did that horrific massacre on a mosque in Christchurch a few years ago.
The Australian.
Yes. We're not even allowed to say his name. You cannot put his name in the media. He is like Voldemort. You know, did you know that?
No.
You're not allowed.
No.
Yeah. You're not allowed to say his name because it's to make him invisible, right? Because he wants to be this like hero of the, I don't know, the horrible racist terrorists. And yeah, so it's just like, just blank him and make him invisible. And that's like the worst torture, which I think that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
But like that guy will never get out of prison. But they do let a lot of people out. Like I did a podcast a few years ago, which is actually really interesting that you should listen to if you can. I can't even think of the name of it now, but it was this. You should listen to it, but I'm not going to tell you which one it was. But
just listen to them all till you find it.
Yeah, it's a story. I think I did it with Angelina. It's a story of this guy who kills his girlfriend in a horrible way. And he had already been out on parole. And then he gets out after 13 years and he just does it again in an awful way again. But the first girlfriend who he had murdered had begged and gone to every parole hearing and had begged not to let this guy out and said he will do it again. And then he did. And in New Zealand alone, which, I mean, this doesn't sound like huge numbers, but you've got to think our population is like 5 million. On average, 6 women a year are killed by men on parole for attempting to murder them.
Shit.
So they just let people out for here. Oh, and they'll learn. But I'm sorry. Psychopaths cannot be rehabilitated.
No.
They cannot. Their brain is different. It's like going, oh, the lion is tame now. He's not going to eat anybody because he's been like hand raised for like 10 years now. So we should just let him out and it'll be fine. But if someone has done awful, horrific things, they are going to, I just don't understand it.
I think we've got it all wrong in New Zealand and I'd say in the States as well, and probably the UK too. Don't know too much about the system over there actually, but it's, you've got these people that are in jail for 10 years for possessing weed. You've got people getting 12 months home detention for rapes. But I think the bigger issue is you've got people who are committing petty crimes that are being locked up that could be rehabilitated. If you look at Scandinavia, they've got some like open prisons where they put these guys on an island and they've got their own huts and they have a community and they build relationships with each other. They're not murderers there, they're there for smaller crimes. And these people, they go out, they don't reoffend. Like they have their time out of society, but they're not picking up tips and tricks and they're not just in this horrible environment that, it must literally be hell to be in a prison, especially in the United States, I think, because you got so much solitary confinement and things like that.
Oh, it's big business in the States. I mean, the States is doing it the opposite way where they're putting too many people away. And that is a huge problem. And I think, if you're a person of color, you're much more likely to get a worse charge and a longer sentence. And I think a lot of it also comes down to money. If you can afford a really good lawyer, you tend to get off or really reduce sentence. And if you can't, then you can be absolutely screwed. Yeah, it's interesting because like Biden has just come out and said that he's pardoning anyone who has marijuana charges. So they're pardoned from their drug charges and to be released and blah, blah, blah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Presidents cannot pardon people for state prosecuted offenses. And there is no federal offenses for marijuana. Those are state charges. Unless someone like, let's say, fills up their car with weed and then drives against, 20 state lines, or there's very few cases where you actually are getting charged federally for marijuana charges. So it's bullshit that he's come out and said this because that doesn't actually pardon anybody. And it's just this distraction to make him look good.
To appeal to young voters so he can win the next election. Can the states pardon people?
The governors could. The governors could. And obviously in places like California where marijuana is legal, and it's legal in quite a few states now. I'm not sure how many. That's kind of becoming the cases. But a lot of people haven't been pardoned. A lot of people, even when it's legal in that state, they're still sitting in jail. But jail is big business in the US. Like a lot of them are privately run prisons, and how they make money is they get the prisoners to work and they'll pay them like 5 cents an hour. And there are so many companies that make their money from prisoners' work.
That's literally what they did in communist Russia.
Yeah.
They used to fight because the economics of that form of communism doesn't work, and the productivity drops. So what happens is you've got the government trying to provide, doesn't have enough money, so it has to. It's a function of communism where they have to arrest people and put them into jail. But then so they'd ship them off to Siberia and get them working.
Yeah.
And have labor camps. You have to do that for communism to work economically. And yeah, it's like you've got like a little bit of that in the States where
a lot of that.
A lot of that. I love the country. The prison system just seems a bit shocking there. Like, yeah, let's just get them mass producing cheap materials, and it incentivizes keeping people in jail. It incentivizes making it cheap, having it all owned by corporations. And I don't know how realistic Orange is the New Black is, but
I haven't been to prison, so I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't like that. On the other hand, on the other extreme, you got these people committing severe crimes that are coming out and murdering people because they're on parole. Like, come on. I think we have to differentiate between dangerous severe crime and petty theft and petty drugs charges.
But at the same time, we have like over 9,000 people a year with marijuana charges. And most of those are Maori and Pacific Islanders. So, a great number.
I just couldn't believe that. Because I went to court as a juror, and I'm not allowed to talk about the case I was on, obviously. And I just saw this guy up before, and he was getting put up on possession of marijuana. And I looked at how much time, energy, and money had gone into finding jurors, court time, the police that had to be there, the judge, and then when you go into the court, there's all the staff. You've got the security, you've got the reception. So we're paying, probably that cost $50,000, I don't know, in order to charge a man for holding a few grams of marijuana. And that is just the most ridiculous thing in the world from my point of view. It's just crazy.
It really is. They did a referendum here where they tried to legalize marijuana, and it failed by like 1%. 1% of the population. Yeah. If 1% had voted yes rather than no, or people who had actually fucking voted. But I knew people who smoked marijuana who voted no. And I was just, really? They were, yeah, like a lot of people. And I'm like, and it was normally white women in their fucking 40s, right? White men and women, 40 plus, who were like, oh, well, I don't want my teenagers to be able to get it. And I'm like, newsflash, your teenagers already can get it and probably are fucking smoking it and most likely stealing it from you, because I know that you are a fucking big marijuana user. Hello. And they're like, oh, well, nothing would even happen to me. And I'm like, you actually don't really know what the charges are. Because I think it's like $1,500 for minor possession over here and up to like years in prison. Like the charges are actually quite harsh. And when the whole like trying to legalize it, they estimated that it would save just the justice system, like the police and courts, $500 million a year by legalizing it.
Wow.
$500 million a year. And then they could make another $500 million a year by taxing it and regulating it. Because marijuana is very popular in New Zealand. Like I know so many people that smoke weed. It's not even funny. It is like very, very common drug. And so if they can regulate it and tax it, and then it takes it out of the gang's hands. And also helps a lot of, they always go on about how they don't have room for people like this boy who raped all these girls. Oh, and their other argument with this boy not going to prison was he might get raped. He might get raped. And I was like,
yes, that's what he needs, a good raping.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but you know that more men get raped than women every year by miles.
Really?
Yeah. Way more men get raped than women, and it's in prison. That's where they get raped.
Oh, okay. There we go. That makes sense.
Yeah, people's faces go, what? Yeah. I said it to a guy the other day, though, and he said, yeah, in prison, I know. I used to be in one. I was like, oh, is there some trauma there? And he's like, no. But I'm this buff for a reason. And I was just like, oh. It was interesting. So, I don't know. But I think that woman should have gotten charged with something. But losing her license and getting charged with dangerous driving when she wasn't driving. Like, that's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Take her license off her? No, she wasn't driving. That's not fair.
Perverting the course of justice. Yes.
Yes. And even, I don't know, there could be some charge that because she did something dangerous, but losing her license, no, she wasn't driving. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's what I think.
Crazy.
I suppose you can hear the anger, but I do get upset because one theme globally, and this is what you mentioned with Joe Biden and the marijuana, is that people in power are overreaching their power. And I'm a big fan of history. I studied the crap out of World War I, World War II. It was my favorite subject at school. And there was a certain set of boundaries that you learned we had to keep in force in order never to repeat a world war. And they're all being broken. Things like one of the ones I remember hearing my history teacher saying it. This is like 24 years ago. And I remember him saying, and he ruled by diktat. He, instead of making legislation, what Hitler did is he just said, I said something, and just ignore that other chamber. Don't make it into law, just do it, just because I say. And this happened all through the pandemic when the people in charge would go, now we're going to do this, now we're going to do that. And they, especially in New Zealand, they hadn't made the laws to enforce it, but it was enforced because someone said it. And although I may have supported those laws, there has to be a process. There has to be. It's really important for democracy to survive that you actually follow the rules. And that means if somebody's committed a crime, you can charge them. If they haven't, then you can't. And you can't make laws and rules just because you say so. You can't just because you're a judge or just because you're a prime minister or a president. You can't just say everybody is pardoned if you don't have the power to do that. However, you can push for legislation to make that happen. But you have to follow the rules. And that's what I think that's the larger picture of why that upsets me about the driving license thing. She wasn't driving. She shouldn't lose a driver's license. But yeah, probably she should be in trouble.
She should be in trouble. Also, but yeah,
it's kind of funny. Her friends are going to be making fun of her for years.
Oh, yeah. And pretty shitty that guy just ran off. I mean, who knows? I guess we don't know the whole story. Maybe she did just force him and he's like crashed into the fence because he was fighting her off. We don't really know, but put that in the paper so we can know all the details.
We want to know all the gory details. Okay. Do I have time to do recommendations?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Because obviously I don't read the news, it means I'm reading lots of books and audiobooks and things instead. And TV shows and Caroline too. What have you got to recommend?
Well, talking about history, I thought I've got a good little recommendation. It's not a light read, but if you're interested in the cycles of history and what's happening now, because things are repeating, a really great book is Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order, Why Nations Succeed and Fail by Ray Dalio. Excellent book. And it shows where we are. And history just repeats itself over and over and over and over and over again. And yeah, fantastic book. And makes you really see clearly what's happening. And what do they say? Those who fail to study history are doomed to fail or doomed to repeat it. Obviously, I got that quote wrong, but I think it is. It's so important to know history so you can see what's actually happening. And what I find interesting with like COVID and all that, the people who I found to be some of the most outspoken were people who were immigrants from communist countries. And they were like, this is not okay. Something bad is happening. This is exactly what they did in Romania or Russia or China. I found that fascinating talking to people who had lived under communist regimes. Were saying this is not okay. Something else is happening. This isn't just about a cold. So really interesting. But that's a great book. Do you have a book to recommend?
Oh, I'm going to read that. Yeah, I got one. I read it a while ago. But it's when we were in our like little hiatus of podcasts. But I really want to recommend it because it's so fucking good. It's called In Order to Live. And it's by Yeonmi Park. It's a true story, first-hand account. And if you get the audiobook, I believe she reads it herself. So she reads her own book.
Always good.
It's a girl in North Korea. So it details her life of what it was like growing up. And her family had to go away to try and earn money, so she'd be left alone freezing in the winter. And And it's the things that they did to survive, having no food, having harsh winters, having, it goes into like grotty detail that we might not want to know, but things like they actually have to collect their shit in bags because they've got a quota that they've got to give to their school or they've got to give to their local authority in order to use as fertilizer. And the ridiculousness of what the regime there did and how the people have suffered. So she, of course, and the fact that she's written this book is evidence that she got out, right? So what did she do to get out of there? And it's the things that she did that she's not ashamed of because she did them in order to live. And just the absolute, I won't give you any details.
I know who you're talking about. I watched her interview on Joe Rogan and it literally broke my heart. I should read the book, but it's like, oh, what she's been through is just unbelievable.
But it's also inspiring. It's like, I honestly, I just do not have a fear of the end of the world anymore. Like if food stops, she survived. I know what she did to survive. If she can do that, then we can cope with anything. We can cope with a little bit of food shortage here or there.
Yeah.
Because this is what you can do.
That's a good recommendation. I'll definitely read that. I've got a recommendation for a movie on Netflix, which is that my mother recommended it to me, actually. It's called I Came By. And it's about this artist that basically breaks into homes of like the elite and does like works of art on their wall. They may not think it's a work of art, but he breaks into this one home that I guess the guy was a judge, quite high up judge. I don't know if he's still on the bench, and he hears this noise in the basement while he's spray painting, and he goes down and he finds this guy is like a prisoner.
Ooh.
Yeah, like being tortured. And he's trying to get him out. The guy comes home, so he like runs out, and then he's like,
don't tell me too much more.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
But he's like obsessed with trying to like help this guy, and it just is holy crap. Because this guy is very powerful, whose house it is. So he's like, no, there's nothing to see here. I don't know what you're talking about. So he gets obsessed, and there's all these other people that kind of get involved, and it's crazy with what happens in the end. So that is really good. And there's one other show I might just recommend while I'm at it that I really, really liked, which is on Amazon Prime, which is a TV show. It's an English show called Chloe. And that one is very good as well. Real twist, where this girl basically starts pretending to be someone that she's not and like get in with this group of people. And so she's like lying about who she is. And you're thinking she's like a psychopathological liar. And you're like, why are you lying? Why are you making this bad? And she did it after her friend dies. Like her friend dies tragically. And so then she infiltrates into this group of friends. And you think she's just being a psychopath. But then you realize she's got another motivation. And it's really good. Very well done. The girl is such a good actress. So that's another one. Yeah.
Okay, I got to write that down. Chloe. Okay.
Chloe on Amazon Prime, and I Came By on Netflix.
I got one as well. You have to search this one. It's not so easy to find, but it's very worth it. It might be easier in the US. I know that, for example, Netflix in New Zealand has got like a third of the programs that you have over there. But this one, it's called Wild Tales. And it's a Spanish-speaking film from Argentina. So for any Spanish speakers, but watch it with subtitles. There has never been a foreign film more worth watching. It's one of these movies that I could watch again and again and again. And I've watched it a couple of times to start, and I'm probably going to watch it again tonight.
What's it called again?
It's called Wild Tales.
Tales.
Relatos Salvajes or something like that.
Yeah.
Salvajes, it's Wild Tales. And it's maybe about 7-ish short films in a row. And each one is a crazy story. So for an example, there's one about road rage. It happens, it just escalates. I won't tell you what happens, but it ends up crazy. Or there's one where a guy gets a parking ticket, but he wasn't parking in a place where he wasn't meant to. And it escalates and escalates to an explosive. And then there's one where at someone's wedding, she finds out that her husband that she just married has cheated on her, and she decides to take revenge at the wedding. So I won't tell you anymore, but go and watch Wild Tales. It's amazing. Deal with the subtitles or learn Spanish. It's worth it.
Wow. Okay, cool. That sounds good. All right. Well, I know you have a client, so we better go. But yeah, we're back. We're back and we're going to be consistent. I promise.
We love you. You're our friends and we missed you.
So write to us. Write to us.
Tell us your stories.
Tell us your stories. Give us a review. Give us just 5 stars and
ask for advice.
Yeah. And we'll give you 5 stars if you want us to. We'll give you some in return. So why not? We're good like that. So that's it. And we'll be back soon. All right. Bye.
See you later. Bye.